Hey everybody, and welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome to this channel. I'm David Townsend. This is the Net Academy, where we are learning networks together. And I want to start off this video with an apology. I apologize to all my subscribers and to all my audience members who tune in to watch my videos. I have not done a whole release, a single video for all of this year, for 2025, and it's currently July. And the reason why I've not done a video is because I'm studying towards my JNCIE Enterprise. It's a 6-hour lab exam, very grueling, lots of configuring protocols for switches and routers, so it's very intense. And as you can imagine, it's taken a lot of my time, a lot of my energy, and a lot of my focus, but I do apologize. And it has been my intent not to do a video for the entire year because of my studies. But there have been two great big things which have happened in the last week where I've just had to come out of my shell, come out of my studying, and just do a video, which is why I'm doing this. And I want to start officially by quoting this. In any given moment, we have two options. We can step forward into growth, or we can step back into safety. Now, what this is talking about is change. Change is inevitable, and we have seen in just the last few days a significant change in the networking industry. And I am, of course, referring to the HPE acquisition of Juniper Networks. Now, full disclosure, I am a Juniper Networks, or technically now an HPE Juniper Networks employee. I'm going to have to get used to that term. We're all human. It will take me a few days to get used to that. But this is really significant. This is a massive change in the networking industry and in the networking landscape. Now, I'm going to talk about this last. I want to talk about the other piece of information, the other massive piece of news that has just happened in this last week as well. And that is the release of the 2025 Magic Quadrant for enterprise wireless and wired LAN infrastructure. Now, coming from HPE's Juniper Networks, I am referring to a product called Mist. Now, if you do not know what Mist is, first and foremost, it is a cloud-based service. It's a cloud-based solution. From a product perspective, minus the switches and the APs, etc., there's nothing. There's no hardware for any user to actually concern themselves with in terms of racking, cooling, power, management, software upgrades, etc., etc. It's just all up there in the cloud. It's also built on microservices. Now, I like to think of a microservice as a 1,000-piece puzzle representing a particular picture. And each one of those 1,000 pieces of that puzzle represents a different picture of that overall image. And it's the same concept with microservices from a very, very high level perspective, I know, a non-technical perspective, where each one of these microservices represents a different service to that overall solution, to that overall picture. And they are all independent as far as I know, and they all work amongst themselves, but they're all linked at the same time. They're all supporting each other. So what Mist can do, the developers behind the scenes, is they could take away any of these pieces of that puzzle, remove it completely, do an upgrade, feature enhancement, whatever it may be, and yet that picture, that Mist solution remains operational 24/7, 365 days a year. So that also means there have been God knows how many feature releases, upgrades, enhancements of the Juniper's Mist Cloud since it's been operational, which is going back quite a few years now, and there's never been any downtime. I'm sure no other vendor's solution out there can say the same. So yes, cloud-based microservices, but it's also built on 100% plus API. Now, for those with any common sense will know that you can't get greater than 100% API support, or 100% of anything is not possible. Yes, but on Mist, everything you see in the user interface is an API call. Any box that you check, any network configuration that you enable, any insights that you want to go into is an API call on the user interface. But then coming away from the user interface, there's a lot more that you can do outside of that using different API tools. I'm not a massive API man. I'm not going to be able to go into detail into it, but I know they're very good for automation. So there's a lot of automation, a lot of API capabilities that you could do away from the user interface, where there's just a lot more API support that you can bring to the overall use case, whatever that may be. So that's why I say it's greater than 100% API support. And here's the big thing, AI. Yes, I know it's a marketing term. Every vendor across every industry is talking about AI this and AI that, and we've got an AI solution for this and there's an AI solution for that. AI is everywhere. But this is fundamental to this video. The artificial intelligence on Mist is so significantly superior, far greater in its detail and what it can do to proactively resolve networking issues that are impacting end users' experience. It's just greater than anything else that is out there from Cisco, from Arista, from even HPE Aruba. And I'll prove that in this video. But from a hardware perspective, yes, Mist is up there in the cloud, but there's obviously needs to be some hardware on site because users typically connect using Wi-Fi these days. We're mobile, we're portable, we like to keep on the move. We're all busy people. So there's APs. There's APs for Wi-Fi 4, 5, 6, 6E, 7. Of course, the new standard. There's also my area, the wired infrastructure, the switching, the routing, described as the plumbing. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but essentially, okay, if it's just the plumbing is so essential because those APs and clients that are connecting to that plumbing, they're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to get their traffic through that pipework if the plumbing is not in place. So I love the wired infrastructure. That's the access, it's the distribution, it's the core. I just love that area. But then there's also the WAN infrastructure, the edge firewalls, the SOX series, the SSR series, depending on the type of technology you want to adopt and roll out, IPsec, session smart routing. There's the MX series for our routing assurance. So this is talking about core edge routing capabilities. I'm not going to go through everything. There's obviously quite a lot, but the MX series are also supported on the Mist product. The AI supports the MX series, and there's a lot more. That this green icon right in the middle here, that is the symbolic icon for Marvis. And actually, I've got a little stress ball here that I never use because it's why would I? It's really good though actually. But that is the icon for Marvis. Marvis is there. It's something that is enabled. It's an additional license on top of the wireless assurance, the wired assurance, the WAN assurance. It's like an a la carte menu. You pick what you need. But the Marvis is there with the Marvis Actions, which is a single pane of glass view for any operational team to look at in a single page and see these are the actions that I need to take to resolve proactively all these networking problems and issues that are impacting my end users, whether they be guests or corporate users or VIPs, clients, customers, whoever they actually may be. Now that might be missing VLANs on a switch. It might be increase in broadcast, unknown unicast and multicast traffic. It might be a loop's being detected, or maybe the IPsec tunnels are down on the WAN interface, or from an AP perspective, maybe there's a coverage hole or insufficient capacity. There's a lot. And then there's the Marvis Minis. Marvis Minis is there, a synthetic client testing. From a synthetic point of view, without any real clients being connected, can I get a DHCP IP address? Can I get DNS resolvement? Can I ARP the gateway? And can I get to these business critical applications, whatever they may be? That will vary from organization to organization. But it's there, testing, does this work? So when users come back to site, come back into the environment, you know your network is there, ready, waiting for them to carry on doing their day-to-day tasks, or maybe use then your network if they are a guest. And anything that goes wrong, if a tester fails in Marvis Minis, it feeds in to Marvis Actions. And then there's the Marvis Conversational Assistant, i.e. Virtual Network Assistant, the VNA, conversational chat box where you literally ask, how is client David Townsend? How is site live demo? How is my switch? How is my AP? Who are my unhappy clients? And Mist's Marvis, the AI, will feed that information back to your question, give you the proactive insights, and even give you recommendations. It gives you literally the answers on how to resolve that problem impacting that user, that client, that device, that site, or even that application. And then there's all these integrations that we've got with ServiceNow, with Cradlepoint, typical use case for Cradlepoint. From the WAN perspective, yes, a WAN might utilize multi-protocol label switching, maybe some kind of internet breakout, but maybe as a backup it wants Cradlepoint for cellular, 4G, LTE, etc. connectivity. There's Zebra. So I do a lot of work with retail, so we can actually install a Marvis client onto these Zebra devices and not only get network to client perspective insights and the client insights themselves, but we can get client reported statistics such as what is their battery, what is their CPU, what is their operating system, what is their radio firmware, what is their radio version. And you can correlate all that information together. So if you have to troubleshoot, if a user with a Zebra device is complaining of bad Wi-Fi, correlate this information together and we can quickly see, the battery was low, or you weren't even on the Wi-Fi, you're now on cellular. We can get all that information on the Mist product and the Mist insights. There's Zoom integration, Microsoft Teams integration, and Zscaler integration. Needless to say, this is a very, very powerful, comprehensive product. And the reason why I'm saying that, and the reason how I can prove it, is let's look at this magic quadrant. Now this is going back to 2020, so 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I know. But it's important to see this journey. Now I will describe and go through very quickly what the ability to execute and the completeness of vision is. But if you just look at where all these different vendors are, the leaders part is really where we want to look at. So Juniper Networks and HPE Aruba are very close together. And I'll spoil the fun. We kind of stayed together for the next few years. I won't say any more than that. But Cisco is down here as such in third place. It's not a race. It's not like first, second, or third with this. But they're kind of third if you want to look at it that way. And Extreme Networks following them. Huawei and Fortinet are in visionaries. Arista over niche players. But then if we move over to 2021, we could see that again Juniper and HPE remain pretty close. Cisco kind of dropped down a little bit, don't they? Extreme kind of stay where they are, but now Arista has moved over from niche to visionaries, whilst Fortinet and Huawei stay really in the same kind of place. And then let's look at 2022. Juniper and HPE, Aruba, of course, staying close. Extreme, Cisco, Huawei has now moved from visionaries into the leaders part, and Fortinet and Arista kind of staying really where they were compared to 2021. Now I do apologise for this next image. It is a bit blurry. It's the only one I could get off good old Google, but you could kind of make it out. Juniper and HPE, as I said, staying pretty close, and it gets quite close here with Extreme, Fortinet, Cisco and Huawei. So Fortinet did move up from visionaries into leader part. CommScope, Ruckus just briefly came across to visionaries as well from the niche players. And then 2024, really the same kind of story, to be honest, not much significant change. But this is the big news. This is one of the two big news that I want to cover. The 2025 Magic Quadrant for Enterprise and Wireless LAN Infrastructure. I mean, look at this. Just look Now, the difference between Juniper Networks and any other, specifically Mist, Juniper Networks Mist, and HPE Aruba, Huawei, Fortinet, Arista is extreme. Look at where Cisco is. I don't want a competition bash, and if I've not said it already, full disclosure, I am a HPE Juniper Networks employee, so I don't want to be biased, I don't want to competition bash, but these are the facts. If I go back one slide, a little bit, it's actually over here, 2024, Cisco are here, they're in leaders part, and they've kind of been the same place for the last 3-4 years, but now they're in challengers. I mean, what has happened there? That in itself is big news. Cisco moving from leaders to challengers. They're no longer a leader for enterprise-wide and wireless LAN infrastructure. They're not. And that is really down to the Magic Quadrant's review and summary of the completeness of vision and ability to execute. Now, coming back to Juniper, what this means is that Juniper Networks Mist has the forward thinking in terms of completeness vision. It has that forward thinking. It's got the strategic mindset of where the product needs to go, how the product needs to get there, what needs to be supported to actually make that a reality, to meet those end user requirements, to innovate as well, to bring new features in, to do things differently, to think outside of the box as such. That is what, in my mind, completeness of vision actually means. And then there's the ability to execute. So this is when you've got that completeness of vision, you know where the product, where you want to take that product and how you want to do it and how you're going to innovate, how you're going to stand out, how good are you, and it's all based on scoring, how good is that company with that product to execute on that. So what is that product's quality? What's the service quality wrapped around that as well? And overall, most importantly, what is the customer's experience of that product, in this case of Mist? And that is why this is big news. 2025, Juniper Networks has scored the highest in both ability to execute and completeness of vision. You will hear on LinkedIn all these different vendors saying, I'm in the leaders part, we are a leader. What you've got to look at is how well they have scored in the completeness of vision and the ability to execute. And in that particular case, in this case, Juniper Networks Mist has just smashed it. And I know I'm speaking very generically there, as I do, but just look at it. Juniper Networks all the way over here, we have massively opened the distance to HPE Aruba, to Huawei, to Fortinet, Arista and Extreme, remaining visionaries, Cisco. Sorry, Cisco, but I don't know how you've managed to let this happen, but you're now a challenger. Don't want a competition bash, but these are the facts. This is big, big news, and it's so exciting. And for me, this leads very nicely onto the next topic, how I started this video, and that is the HPE's acquisition of Juniper Networks. And I have no doubt in my mind that the powers that be, the higher management, Antonio Neri, the CEO of HPE, and Rami Rahim, who was the CEO of Juniper Networks, is now is still with the company. He's actually managing the HPE networking business now, which is really good news. But no doubt they were having these conversations, and Antonio Neri, with his business mindset and strategic forward thinking, with Rami, knew where they wanted to take this and thought, hey, as such, and speaking very loosely here, wouldn't it be great if our two companies come together, if we had this merger? That is where the next part of this story begins. So here comes the next big piece of this video, this really huge piece of news, obviously HPE Juniper Networking. But this story didn't start this year. It actually started back, and I have to get the date right, but this started back on the 9th of January 2024. HPE to acquire Juniper Networks to accelerate that AI-driven innovation. Now, I've just done a quick word search here to see how many times AI appears, and yet there are a few words like said here. which AI is in, but you can really see how many times that the acronym AI for artificial intelligence is actually mentioned. Now, I do remember when I heard this news, I was quite naive, to be honest. I thought, nah, Juniper Networks is way too big to be acquired. Nah, this can't be real. Like I said, naive. We're all human. But then these press releases, these statements, these articles started to come out, and everyone was talking about it on LinkedIn. And I thought, oh, this is real. And whilst I felt really excited, I was also quite nervous. And the reason why I was nervous is because I'm a human being like all of us. And I have a family to support, a wife, 3 children. And whilst I love my job, and I love being an engineer, and I love networking, obviously this kind of change can be concerning, shall we say, for employees. A fair play to Juniper Networks, they're really, really good actually in answering those kind of questions. So that anxiety was quickly left, and it's just pure excitement now. It's really exciting times. But yeah, look at the amount of times AI has been mentioned. Now, it's important to point out that obviously HPE hasn't just acquired Juniper Networks because of the artificial intelligence behind Mist, but also to have that huge product offering from silicon to hardware to OS to service provider routing to security to data center. HPE collectively now has a huge product offering, and not to mention that go-to-market strategy and the base to operate on. This is really significant, but this was the beginning of the story. But there was also an additional press release, and the reason why I'm showing this is this was on Juniper Networks at the time, press room, and this is on HPE's. It's almost a mirror image. Just look at the amount of times AI is actually mentioned. So it's really all about artificial intelligence, i.e. Mist. But this was not a straightforward story, a process, as is typically the case. So this was in January 2024, and a year later, 30th of January 2025, so just 7 months ago, the Department of Justice in the United States sued to block this, I always stagger at this amount, this $14 billion acquisition between HPE of Juniper Networks. Ouch. That was quite a surprise, to be honest. And the reason why I'm saying that was a surprise is because this had already passed, as far as I'm aware, through quite a few legislations and branches, and like the UK government, the EU, and God knows how many others all had to approve this. And then it got to the Department of Justice in the United States, and boom, the brakes came on. Oops, that's a kink, shall we say. Now, I won't read through all of this, but right at the bottom here, I'll just read this part. Now, HPE seeks to acquire its smaller, innovative rival, Juniper Networks. The proposed transaction between HPE and Juniper, if allowed to proceed, would further consolidate an already highly concentrated market and leave the US enterprises facing 2 companies commanding over 70% of the market. The post-merger HPE, that's Juniper and HPE together, and the market leader Cisco. Yeah, 2 vendors. I'm not so sure about that. Yes, Juniper and HPE would be one, but there's Huawei, which I don't think is allowed in the US anymore, Fortinet, Arista, Extreme, Cisco. I'm not too sure I ever agreed with that reason to block. For me, that didn't make sense. I don't know if it does for you. If it does, feel free to let me know in the comments box if there's something I'm missing. But yeah, from a wireless perspective, more than enough players, more than enough competition, more than enough choice for an enterprise to choose from. So this was obviously unexpected. And it was actually around the same time that the sales kickoff internally was happening in Las Vegas in 2024. And this isn't from the event, but this is the CEO of HPE, Antonio Neri, and he actually came on stage with Rami Rahim, who was CEO of Juniper Networks at the time. He's still around. He's now part of HPE, like all of us, of course. But it was really reassuring, and I'll say it was cool to see them both on stage. And whilst they were not answering questions from us, because there's a few thousand of us, not enough time, they were doing a Q&A between themselves and talking about how they're going to work together and work with the DLJ to go through their concerns and do what's needed to make this ultimately a success for both companies. And that then leads on very nicely to this. Now, this just happened a few days ago. When I'm doing this video, it's the 3rd of July 2025. This happened on the 30th of June 2025. That's 4 or 5 days ago. Department of Justice clears the road for HPE's 14 billion Juniper Networks acquisition, i.e. Department of Justice gave the go-ahead, the green light. This can happen if first and foremost, HPE must sell off the Instanton Business, including assets, intellectual property, R&D personnel, to an approved buyer. I don't know what approved is. Within 180 days. Now, honestly, and I do not mean this disrespectfully to HPE, because I'm now part of HPE, but I didn't know of this Instanton Business. I had to Google it. I had to look it up, and here it is. Yeah, I mean, it's wireless. There's some APs, something you're doing there with a phone. There's by far a switch here, presumably some kind of WAN router. Business Wi-Fi made incredibly simple and secure. So the way I read this is it's more for the lower end enterprise network, not really big in size or personnel, who just need something to pretty much plug and go kind of setup. Easy setup, performance check. Yeah, for me that says plug and go. But this is one of the considerations that has to be met within 180 days. Is HPE has to auction off this Instanton Business. So who knows who will pick that up? TP-Link, Netgear, whoever. Obviously no one knows until it happens. But the other consideration, and just let me find it, is that here it is here, just in this paragraph here, the source code for the wireless LAN product. So that's not the hardware behind the missed access points, but behind the missed AI ops, the wireless assurance. That source code has to be licensed, has to be made available. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, that's strange. At first I was a bit concerned because I thought, oof, that's our source code. That's oof. Yeah, that's concerning. But then I thought, well, hang on, the people would have done their due diligence and made sure and known that this was not a cause of concern. But also, how many years of development has gone on to that source code? 10 plus years of development to develop it, to improve it, to enhance it, to bring out new features. 10 plus years. Making this available is not the same as having it in a competitor's hands and suddenly they can do what Mist can. It's not the same thing. So for me, this is quite strange now for this to be in there, and almost anti-competitive actually. But yeah, again, write in the comments box if I'm missing something. But, you know, it was a consideration. It's in there. Whatever. But now, July the 2nd. This is yesterday. So just a few days after, let me find it, just a few days after the DOJ giving the go-ahead, giving the green light, July the 2nd, yesterday, HPE closed the acquisition of Juniper Networks. How fast is that? They were not hanging around. Just wow. Can we all just take a second to appreciate how big a news this really is in the industry? It's massive. Two great big companies coming together. This is so exciting. It's such big news. I cannot remember the last time, if ever, I heard and have been part of this journey, which is such big news and will fundamentally change the dynamics of this great industry. It is so big. It's once in a lifetime. But again, 29 times AI has been mentioned. And yes, there's the occasional word with AI in it, but yeah, it's Mist. It's the AI capabilities of Mist. And now if you go onto HPE's Juniper Networks website, we are now HPE Juniper Networking. And if you go onto HPE's website and go under products, we are HPE Juniper Networking and HPE, just above HPE Aruba Networking. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a video for a later time. Obviously, they are very similar products. Switches, APs, WAN routers. But coming back to this Magic Quadrant, and that's why I wanted to do this first. Just look at this. Look at the difference in the completeness of vision and the ability to execute between Juniper Networks Mist, or now HPE Juniper Networking Mist, and HPE Aruba. But time will tell, 100%. So, big news, very exciting. And for me, I'm hoping to be here this time next year. HPE just had their sales annual conference in Las Vegas. They rent out the Sphere for a whole week. And that is HPE's logo on the outside of that. I've seen it. I've walked past it quite a few times. It's massive of that building. Wow. Exciting, big times. Full of change. And to finish off this video, I just want to share this video. I will put this down in the comments box. YouTube has these policies around music and other content being shared. But I will share this down in the comments box 100%. Hopefully it plays. But this is Antonio Neri, our CEO, and Rami Rahim, who is now the president of the networking business inside of HPE. And let's see what they've got to say about it.
We live in incredible times where everything changed overnight. The use of AI is exploding. Hybrid cloud is a key enabler to deploy AI, and the core foundation of hybrid cloud is networking.
By combining HPE and Juniper, we have the potential to do some amazing things in the market.
It's transformative to the company. It will be transformative to the world. The future belongs to the fast. Now we can turbocharge it by being together.
The world today needs a strong innovator at scale, and that is the power of this combination.
The opportunity we have in front of us is enormous.
To truly shake things up and innovate in ways that our customers and our partners have never seen, and the time is now.
These things happen once in a lifetime.
The time is now. Once in a lifetime. Big news. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Best way to support my channel. Questions or comments, let me know down in the comments box. I love hearing from you all. Other than that, thank you for watching and goodbye.